let's talk about something pretty amazing, the invisible architecture of our skies. We're going to pull back the curtain on the hidden rules that make modern air travel even possible. I mean, think about it for a second. At any given moment, you've got thousands of planes crisscrossing the globe, moving at hundreds of miles per hour in 3 dimensions. So what's the secret? What's the invisible force that prevents total chaos up there?
Well, the answer is this remarkably elegant system that every single pilot follows. It's like a global rulebook that creates these predictable, invisible highways and intersections all across the sky.
And this whole system, it really just boils down to two core philosophies of flying. Two different sets of rules that pilots can choose from, and it all depends on what they can see right outside the cockpit window. Okay, so first up, we have the most intuitive way to fly, which is basically just using your eyes. It's called Visual Flight Rules, or VFR for short. VFR is exactly what it sounds like. If the weather is clear, if you can see the ground, the clouds, and other airplanes, you fly by the simple principle of see and be seen. You can think of it like driving a car on a wide-open country road on a perfectly sunny day. It's on you to look out for other traffic and stay out of trouble. But here's the catch with VFR. There's one huge weakness. You are completely 100% dependent on the weather. Because, you can't really fly by sight if you don't have any sight to begin with. And that's where this next idea comes in. Visual Meteorological Conditions, or VMC. Now, VMC isn't a set of rules for the pilot. It's more like a rulebook for the weather itself. It defines the absolute minimum visibility you need and the minimum distance you have to stay away from clouds. It creates this required bubble of safety around your plane that lets you legally fly VFR. So, to make sure this is crystal clear, because it's a super important distinction, VFR is the rulebook the pilot chooses to follow. VMC describes the weather conditions that have to exist for that choice to even be legal. Put it this way, VFR is your choice, but VMC is just a fact of nature. If the weather gets worse and you're not in VMC anymore, well, you can't legally fly VFR. Simple as that. So what happens when you can't see? When the weather doesn't play along? Well, that brings us to the second philosophy of flight, flying by instruments, or IFR. Instrument flight rules are designed for those times when a pilot is basically flying blind, whether they're inside a thick cloud or just in really hazy conditions. When you're IFR, you are putting all your trust in your cockpit instruments for navigation, and, this is the crucial part, you're relying on air traffic control to keep you safely separated from every other plane out there. It's kind of like driving in a dense fog, but you're trusting your GPS completely while a command center is telling you exactly when and where to turn. Now, you might think IFR is just for bad weather, but here's the thing. Pilots choose to use it most of the time. In fact, pretty much every single commercial airliner you've ever been on operates under IFR, from takeoff to landing, no matter how beautiful the day is. And why is that? It's because it adds this huge layer of safety by keeping the plane under the positive control of air traffic control for the entire trip. Okay, so we've got these two big systems, VFR and IFR. But what about the universal rules of the road that apply to everybody, no matter what? Well, that brings us to right of way in the sky. And here's the absolute key to understanding this. Right of way isn't about who's entitled to go first. It's all about predictability. The pilot who has the right of way is expected to just keep flying straight and steady. That allows the other pilot to easily plan a move to get around them. But the final, ultimate rule is that every pilot is responsible for avoiding a collision, no matter who has the right of way. Now get this, because this chart shows the hierarchy, and it's probably the opposite of what you'd expect. You might think a giant passenger jet has priority over everything, right? Nope, it's actually way down at the bottom of the list. The logic is actually brilliant. The less maneuverable an aircraft is, the more priority it gets. And that's why a hot air balloon, which is totally at the mercy of the wind, has the right of way over everything else in the sky. And for planes of the same type, the rules are just as simple and clear. Approaching each other head-on, both of you turn to the right. Coming together from the side, the plane that has the other on its right side has to give way. Overtaking a slower plane from behind, you, the faster plane, have to alter your course to the right and stay clear. See? It's a simple, universal dance that just keeps everyone safe. But hold on, there is one last really important piece to this whole puzzle. If navigation is so precise these days that two planes can fly the exact same route, just in opposite directions, what stops them from having a head-on collision right there on those invisible highways? It's a classic problem in aviation, right? And the solution is just so incredibly elegant and simple. The answer is this beautifully simple idea called the semicircular rule. What it does is it basically divides the sky vertically, all based on the direction you're flying.
Here's how it works. If your magnetic course is generally eastbound, you fly at an odd altitude, like 31,000 or 33,000 feet. If you're flying westbound, you fly at an even altitude, like 32,000 or 34,000 feet. It's so clever. This simple rule automatically creates a 1,000-foot vertical buffer between all the traffic going in opposite directions. It's just brilliant.
And check this out. There's another fascinating layer on top of that. VFR flights that are flying high enough to use this rule are told to add 500 feet to their altitude. So that eastbound VFR flight would be at 33,500 feet. This just neatly slots them right in between the IFR traffic lanes, creating even more separation and safety. So when you put it all together, you can really see it's not just one single rule, but all these different layers of safety working together. You've got the VFR rules for clear days, the IFR rules for total control, and of course, the universal right-of-way rules that govern every single interaction. And the result of all these invisible rules working in harmony is that the vast, three-dimensional, potentially chaotic sky is transformed into one of the safest and most predictable transportation networks on the entire planet. So the next time you look up and see a plane streaking across the blue, remember this. The sky isn't just empty space. It's a meticulously choreographed ballet, and every single pilot up there knows all the steps. And it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other incredible, invisible systems are hiding out there in plain sight, quietly making our modern world work every single day?